Hello and welcome to the Week 2 edition of GameTimePA-TV's Football Preview Show. I'm John Buffone, and throughout this episode we'll be checking in with all of our GameTime PA correspondents to break down the most interesting matchups in their area. Let's start right here in Lancaster, where the premier matchup of the week is Hempfield at Manheim Central. The Black Knights exploded onto the scene last week with a 20-point victory over Lampeter Strasbourg, in which the Black Knights rushed for over 500 yards on the ground. Both Will Blair and quarterback Sam Kramer rushed for over 200 yards individually. Manheim Central also looked impressive in their Week 1 win over Warwick, in which the Barons rushed for over 350 yards. Manheim Central also sports one of the most explosive tailbacks in the league in senior Damon Camacho. If nothing else, this game should be very physical and could come down to who wins the time of possession game. Now let's see what's going on in the rest of South Central PA.
I'm Sean Michael with Game Time PA's Franklin-Fulton, and this week we have another big rivalry matchup when the Chambersburg Trojans visit the Shippensburg Greyhounds. Last season, the two teams got into a slugfest, with Shippensburg ultimately coming away with a 15-0 win. Chambersburg showed some life offensively last week, scoring 3 second-half touchdowns before losing to Greencastle 32-29 in overtime. If Caden Hoover can continue to improve, the Trojan offense could flourish again this week. For Shippensburg, it all comes down to the health of Wade Mills. In their loss to Dover last week, the Greyhounds scored 17 points in the first half, but were held without a point in the second half when Wade Mills went down with an injury. He needs to be back in the lineup if Shippensburg hopes to have any success with its high-flying offense this week.
Hey, this is Brandon Stoneberg with the York Daily Record. Our game of the week this week is West York at Dallastown, the annual rivalry, cross-division rivalry it is. Fans are hoping that we can get a repeat, or at least close to it, of last year. 1-point win for Dallastown, West York's only loss of the year, in a thrilling game that came down to the last 2 minutes. This year so far, West York had a rough loss to Central Week 1, lost by 3 to the Panthers. Their defense is going to be a lot better against Dallastown, who's coming off a win against Lancaster Catholic. Cade Gold ran for 100+ and threw for 100+. The lefties hoping to do the same thing against West York. Tyler Folk looked good for the Bulldogs. Caden Thomas looked good for the Bulldogs as well, 117 yards. They'll need repeat performances if they want to keep up with the Wildcats. Stay tuned for that Friday night, 7 o'clock, Dallastown.
Out here in Lebanon, I'm Andrew Callahan, and this is Pat Huggins from the Lebanon Daily News checking in on our game of the week, Elco at Palmeria. Pat, you're going to be out there covering the game. Elco 0-1 after a tough loss at Hamburg. The Cougars, on the other hand, 1-0. Big win against East Pennsboro. What are you looking for from that game?
It'll be interesting. Palmeria off to a really good start. Elco did not have such a good start last week, so it was a very interesting game last year, kind of a shootout, 42-31 Palmeria. So I'm looking for more of that this week, but I think Palmeria is going to be tough to beat this week.
That not the only inter-county game of the week. I'll be over at Northern Lebanon. Again, speaking of shootouts, the Cedars, in untraditional fashion, only 7 points against Cedar Crest in their opener. We're going to see if they can bounce up to 1-1 against the Vikings, who suffered their only loss against Lebanon a year ago.
I'm Zach Miller from the Evening Sun in Hanover, and our game of the week is Cedar Cliff at Southwestern. Last year, these two teams combined for 88 points. It should be another high-scoring one. Cedar Cliff put up 54 last week. Southwestern put up 38. It's going to be a good one. It's the only one in the Hanover-Adams area where both teams come in 1-0. We'll see if Southwestern can keep it going this year. They have a lot of big expectations and we're looking for win number 2.
Well, that about wraps up this week's episode. Thank you for tuning in. For updates on all your favorite games, be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And as always, enjoy the games this weekend.
The first handoff to number 83.